This isn't just a story. It's the kind you'll think about at 2 a.m. If you're ready for the truth they never saw coming, hit that subscribe button now. And if something hits home, drop a like and tell me your thoughts in the comments because stories like this deserve to be heard. My name is Emily Harris, and sometimes I think my life has been one long, weathered Texas road, endless, sun-scorched, lonely. Still, every so often, small moments of warmth showed up like wildflowers on the roadside, keeping me from giving up. I'm 30 now, a former Army sergeant who traded the battlefield for quieter days. These days, I run a modest security firm just outside Dallas, guarding family businesses and corner stores. I never cared for luxury. My beat-up pickup truck, a rented apartment, and the discipline drilled into me from service were enough. What truly mattered were the lessons of my grandparents, Henry and Clara Brooks. Their steady voices reminded me that integrity will always outlast greed. I never thought those words would become the shield I'd cling to. When a plane crash stole them from me without warning, their lawyer revealed the unthinkable. I was the sole heir to everything they left behind, $39 million, and the weight of their legacy. I didn't grow up in a warm home. Our house looked polished on the outside, but was cold through and through. My parents, Michael and Susan Harris, built their lives on image and ambition. Michael, a real estate developer, was more in love with glass towers than with his children. Susan, a sought-after interior designer, spent her days decorating other people's dream homes instead of nurturing her own family. To the world, they were dazzling, untouchable, a golden couple. To me, they were distant strangers who happened to share my roof. My older brother, Jason, figured them out early. He craved their approval like oxygen. Designer sneakers, flashy gadgets, perfect grades. He paraded them all and it worked. Michael's proud hand often rested on Jason's shoulder, while I dissolved into the background. I was the quiet one, the girl who preferred books and sketch pads over parties and popularity. While Jason bathed in their shallow applause, I ate for something real. Just a hug, a smile, a bit of warmth. That warmth came from Henry and Clara. Their ranch sat just outside town where the air carried the smell of hay, and the skies seemed to go on forever. Unlike my parents' sterile world, their home felt alive. Creaking wooden floors, the laughter of neighbors, the scent of cornbread drifting from the kitchen. I was 8 when I first ran away there. My parents' voices were knives slicing through the house as they argued over debts. Jason stayed glued to the TV, ignoring it all. I grabbed my bike, pedaled through tears, and didn't stop until the ranch came into view. Henry was outside, sleeves rolled up, fixing a tractor. He didn't pepper me with questions or press me for explanations. He just handed me a wrench. "Help me out, kiddo. Work clears the mind." We worked side by side in silence until the sun dipped low, staining the fields gold. Clara's voice eventually called us inside to a table laid with barbecue, salad, and warm pie. They didn't mention my red eyes or scraped knees. They gave me something better, a seat, a slice of pie, and a place where I was safe. That night, Henry told me how he built his trucking business from one beaten-down rig. His stories taught me that success didn't need to be loud or greedy. The ranch became my refuge. I biked there as often as I could. Henry showed me how to drive trucks, repair engines, and keep promises sacred. Clara taught me patience, how to coax vegetables from stubborn soil, how to listen before speaking. "Independence, Emily," she'd say. "Don't let money own you. You own it." Those words armored me. When kids mocked my faded clothes, I held on to Clara's quiet dignity. When Jason flaunted his shiny new gadgets, I thought of Henry's weathered hands. My grandparents didn't just fill the emptiness left by my parents. They planted values that shaped the foundation of who I became. As I grew, the gulf between me and my parents only widened. Jason thrived in their glittering orbit of vacations, parties, and status. I wanted none of it. When Michael tried to lure me into his real estate empire, my stomach turned. I'd seen how money hardened his smile, hollowed Jason, and turned Susan brittle. So at 18, I shocked them by enlisting in the army. Michael scoffed. "You won't last a week in boots." Susan cried. "You're throwing your life away." Jason muttered. "Too naive." But Henry only smiled. "Good," he said. "Discipline and service. That's how you'll find yourself." And he was right. The army was brutal. Sleepless nights, endless drills, life or death decisions. But I thrived. For once my effort mattered. My choices carried weight. Every mission. I carried Henry and Clara's teachings with me. Integrity, independence, trust. After a decade, I came home to Dallas and drove straight to the ranch. Clara's hug wrapped me in belonging. Henry's firm clap on my shoulder told me I had made them proud. Instead of giving in to Michael's business world, I started my own security company. Small, honest, built on sweat and trust. My days were simple. Dawn workouts, training my team, hard-earned exhaustion at night. I called my grandparents often, updating them with little victories, new clients, steady growth. Henry chuckled. Security isn't just cameras, it's trust. Clara fussed over my health, bothering me the way Susan never had. Michael, Susan, and Jason only called when they needed something, usually trying to drag me into their faltering empire. Think of the family, Emily Michael pressed, but I stood my ground. I didn't realize then how close the storm already was. It hit on a gray morning. I was reviewing security footage when my father's trembling voice broke through the phone. Emily, your grandparents' plane went down. No survivors. The world blurred. My pen slipped from my fingers. My chest tightened until I couldn't breathe. They had been on vacation, not in a war zone. How could this be real? I drove to the ranch in a haze, memories clawing at me. Henry's steady wisdom. Clara's warm pies. Their voices telling me to stay true. The house was crowded with neighbors, workers, and church friends. Susan sobbed dramatically, her grief feeling like a performance. Michael paced like a man counting assets. Jason stayed quiet, eyes restless, already scheming. The funeral was humble, just as my grandparents wanted. Yet hundreds came, truckers, farmers, families they had helped. Stories flowed like water. Henry paying men out of his own pocket. Clara feeding the hungry. Pride swelled through the grief, but beneath it, I sensed something darker. Michael's talk of legacy didn't ring with love. It rang with ambition. Susan whispered about something to carry on. Jason avoided my gaze, silence cloaked in intent. And for the first time, I realized the battle for my grandparents' legacy was only beginning. Days later, we gathered in the office of Thomas Reed, the lawyer my grandparents had trusted for decades. The room smelled faintly of old leather and paper, the kind of place where secrets had been sealed and lives redirected. Tension pressed heavy over the table. Michael and Susan sat stiffly, Jason's arms crossed in simmering defiance, and my Uncle Richard, fresh in from London, watched with a calculating smile. Samuel, the housekeeper who had served my grandparents faithfully for 20 years, stood quietly at the side as a witness. My chest tightened as I waited, hoping for a letter, a story, some last message of love. Not money, not wealth, just words to carry me through the loss. Thomas cleared his throat, adjusting his glasses. Henry and Clara updated their will 6 months ago. Their entire estate, the ranch, the trucking company, and the sum of $39 million goes to Emily Harris alone. The air fractured into silence so sharp it rang in my ears. My stomach dropped. The number didn't even feel real. Michael roared first, slamming his palm against the polished oak. She manipulated them. Susan clutched her chest, sobbing. Emily, how could you? What did you do to them? Jason leaned forward, venom in his voice. How often did you sneak out here, whispering sweet lies to win them over? Richard's sneer was icy. A small-time security guard holding a fortune like this. Unthinkable. We'll challenge it. Their words hit me like shrapnel. I hadn't schemed, hadn't asked for any of this. All I'd ever done was love Henry and Clara for who they were, not for what they owned. Thomas lifted a hand, calm but firm. There's a video message. The screen flickered to life, and suddenly there they were. Henry's weathered face, Clara's warm eyes beside him. My throat closed as his steady voice filled the room. We chose Emily because she has lived the values we believe in. Honesty, independence, heart. Clara's eyes glistened as she added softly, she never treated us like a bank. She treated us as family. Michael, Susan, Jason, Richard, we love you, but we have watched. You borrowed, you promised, but never gave back. You chose greed. Emily will protect this legacy, not for herself, but for the community. The video cut to black. Michael's face turned purple with rage. They were senile, manipulated. We'll sue. Jason shoved his chair back with a screech. Sign it over, Emily, or we'll ruin you. Richard leaned in, his voice like a blade. Divide it or this gets ugly. My voice trembled, but I forced it to hold. No, this was their choice and I'll honor it. The room erupted, but I had already drawn the line. I wasn't just an heir now. I was their guardian, and the fight had only begun. The days that followed felt like being dropped back into combat. Every call, every knock at the door, every message was another ambush. Michael came first, his voice smooth but dangerous over the phone. This belongs to the family, Emily. They were confused. Sign the company shares over, and we'll take care of things. I gripped the receiver so tightly my knuckles ached. No, Dad. They knew exactly what they were doing. His tone hardened. You'll lose everything in court. Don't forget who raised you. I'm still your father. I hung up, my hands trembling, but my resolve solid. Susan tried next, her voice heavy with rehearsed tears. Don't you love us, Emily? We're drowning in debt. Just a portion, please, for your family. Guilt pressed in, but Clara's words echoed in my mind. Don't let emotions cloud principles. I love you, Mom, I whispered. But I won't betray them. The line went silent before she hung up. Jason came in person, storming into my apartment, reeking of cologne and bitterness. You're sitting on $39 million while I scrape by, he spat. Give it to me and I'll make sure you're taken care of. I stared at him, stunned. Taken care of? Jason, this isn't about money. It's about trust. His eyes burned with hatred. You'll regret this. I'll make the world believe you're a selfish fraud. And he tried. Online. His posts spread fast. Claims that I manipulated Henry and Clara. That I played the innocent soldier for sympathy. Comments swarmed in, calling me heartless, greedy, ungrateful. Richard's attacks came dressed in suits and polished words. Emails warning, threatening, promising endless litigation. Divide the estate, Emily, or my lawyers will bury you. I replied once, the will stands. After that, I ignored him, but the pressure built. Nights blurred together with the buzz of my phone. Calls laced with threats, lies, desperate pleas. Fear chewed at me, and more than once, I pictured them storming the ranch, dragging me out. Yet Henry's voice steadied me. The truth is your weapon. A week later, I moved into the ranch's villa, the place that had always felt like home. Walking through its halls, I brushed my hand over the wooden banister, traced the frames of Clara's photos, rested for a moment in Henry's chair. Their trust was a weight on my shoulders, comforting but heavy. Then came the pounding at the gate. The cameras lit up. 2 sleek cars rolled in, doors slamming. Michael and Susan stormed forward, faces flushed with fury. Jason followed, jaw clenched tight. Richard adjusted his cufflinks, smirked sharp as a knife. They hadn't come to talk. They had come to take. Michael bellowed at the gate, voice booming. Open up, Emily. You're living in our house on our money. Jason rattled the iron bars. Coward, face us. Susan's voice wavered, trembling between anger and pleading. Let's handle this as family. I stepped out onto the porch. But I wasn't alone. Beside me stood Thomas Reed, his briefcase in hand. Sheriff Lopez, an old friend of Henry's, rested against his cruiser with 2 deputies close by. And behind me, 3 of my army comrades, Rachel, Tom, and Louise, stood with arms folded, silent and unyielding. Michael faltered at the sight, but pride dragged him forward. We moved inside into the villa's living room. Once a space of warmth and laughter, it now felt like a battlefield. They spread out, their voices rising, their greed laid bare. Michael struck first, his voice sharp as a whip. This will is a sham. You poisoned their minds. This fortune belongs to us. Jason raised his phone like a weapon. I've already posted everything. The world thinks you're a thief, Emily. You'll lose in the court of opinion, even if the law shields you. Richard smoothed his tie, his tone cool and smug. My lawyers in London are prepared. Years of lawsuits. You'll drown in debt long before you see a cent. Their attacks came fast, relentless, but I forced myself to stay grounded. Thomas spoke up, his calm cutting through the chaos. The will is airtight. Medical evaluations confirm their sound judgment. And the trust protects Emily's inheritance from every angle. Sheriff Lopez shifted his weight, arms crossed like a wall. Try forcing her out, and you'll face criminal charges. Trespassing, theft, maybe worse. For the first time, doubt flickered in their eyes. I stepped forward, steadying my voice. This isn't about money. It never was. It's about trust. Henry and Clara saw your greed years ago. That's why they chose me. The room went still until Jason broke it, lunging forward and jabbing a finger inches from my face. You're nothing. Emily, wearing a uniform doesn't make you better. Before I could move, Rachel slid between us, her presence immovable. Back off, she snapped, voice like iron. Jason froze, his false bravado cracking. Susan tried next, her tears a mask. We're your family, Emily. We'll lose everything without this. My throat ached, but Henry's voice echoed in my head. Family means respect. They lost that when they broke our trust. I steadied myself. Family requires more than blood. You shattered their trust long ago. The dam broke. Michael hurled threats of lawsuits. Jason spewed curses about ruining my name. Richard sneered that I was too naive to last. Their greed spilled out like poison. Then I laid down my counterstrike. I opened the folder Thomas had prepared. Documents, loan records, proof of debts, even footage of betrayals they thought buried. I set it on the table with quiet finality. This is the truth. Push me further and it goes public. Reporters are waiting outside this gate. Their faces blanched. Anger turned to fear. They were cornered, exposed. Michael spat one last threat. You'll regret this. Then they stormed out, the door rattling in their wake. I stood there, trembling, heart pounding like it had after combat missions. Victorious, but hollow. Rachel squeezed my shoulder. You didn't back down. I nodded, though the victory felt bitter. The villa was mine now, but the cost was steep. My family had become my enemies. The inheritance wasn't freedom. It was another battlefield. I refused to wait for their next ambush. With Thomas at my side, I struck first. We leaked the contents of the folder, carefully anonymized, to a local reporter Henry had once trusted. Within days, articles spread across Dallas. Headlines told the story not of my supposed greed, but of Michael's debts, Susan's broken promises, Jason's manipulations, Richard's financial games. The tide turned. Public opinion shifted. Commenters called them vultures, not me. Jason's rants on social media imploded. Followers dropped. Sponsors cut ties. Michael's lawsuit crumbled once the evidence reached court. Richard's London lawyers quietly stepped away, unwilling to back a sinking ship. Only Susan tried again, calling late one night, her voice softer, fragile. Please, Emily, forgive us. Just a little help. I closed my eyes, tears pressing hot behind them. Prove you've changed, Mom. Until then, I can't. She hung up, silent. I reinforced the ranch, new cameras, upgraded locks, my security team patrolling. Nights were still restless, my mind replaying the sound of fists on the gate. But no one came. Their greed had overreached and it had broken them. Protecting the legacy wasn't enough. I had to grow it. With Thomas, I audited everything. The ranch, the trucking company, the charitable accounts. Henry's trucking business, Starlight Hall, was strong but lagging behind the times. I hired veterans I trusted, men and women who knew loyalty because they'd lived it in uniform. The fleet modernized, the routes expanded, and the business thrived again. The ranch blossomed, too. We installed new irrigation, turned to sustainable crops, and became a model for neighboring farms. Clara's garden philosophy spread. Patience, care, resilience. Then came the Henry and Clara Brooks Foundation. At its launch, I stood before a crowd of teachers, veterans, and families. My voice shaking, but sure. This isn't about me. It's about them, about the values they lived by. Integrity, service, community. Applause rose like thunder. Later, a teenager approached me, tears shining in her eyes. She'd just been awarded a scholarship through the foundation. Thank you, she whispered. I can go to college now. In her voice, I heard Clara's kindness, her unshakable belief in giving. The ranch thrived again, workers paid fairly, family supported, children laughing in the fields. Samuel. their old housekeeper, smiled one evening as he watched them run past. "They'd be proud of you, Miss Emily," he said softly. Each night I knelt by their graves beneath the old oak tree, telling them about the victories, the struggles, the progress. The wind in the branches felt like their whispers of approval. The $39 million had never been a gift. It was a test, a crucible. I'd lost my parents, my brother, my uncle. Their greed severed those ties forever. But I'd gained something far greater. I wasn't just Emily Harris, the soldier, or the heir. I was the guardian of a legacy rooted in trust. And as the Texas sun sank low, painting the fields in crimson and gold, I stood on the porch of the ranch with one promise etched into my heart. I would protect this legacy for Henry, for Clara, for the community always.